Hello and welcome to another video in the React tutorial. In this tutorial we're going to create more components and we're going to learn about how we can pass JavaScript inside our functions and how we can add the dynamic content instead of hard coding things. And also we're going to learn about props. Now let's go ahead. First of all, let us segregate our the components that we're going to create inside a folder. So in the source, create a new folder called components. Now every component that we're going to create, we'll place it inside the components folder. So let us create our first component. We're going to name it greet.js. Now here I'm using an extension for simple React snippets so that I don't do so we can save some time. So that extension name is let me show you here. The extension name is ES7 React Redux GraphQL React Native snippets. It gives us shortcuts to write snippets inside the our React components or React code. So what we can simply do, we can simply write RFC, and as you can see it shows me options to create a React functional component. So let us create that. Now we'll be writing our first code here. So let us write h1 and simply greet hello Abhishek. Now inside the app.js we're going to import it. First of all, let me remove this. Let us simply, and the IntelliSense in the Visual Studio Code is very good. So if I simply write greet, it's going to automatically import it. As you can see here, I didn't have to manually import it. The IntelliSense in the Visual Studio Code is very good. Now let us see if that the content inside the greet is displayed or not. As you can see, the hello Abhishek is printed here. Now what we'll do, we will pass a variable. Let name, or let me say the const, because the name doesn't change. Const first name and Abhishek. So how we can pass the variable? Simply by curly braces and giving the variable name. Now as I give the variable name, you can see the name is displayed here. Now this is one of the ways to give the dynamic content inside inside the JSX. That's why it is called the modified form of the HTML, as we see. Now let us try to understand what is props and how we can pass props inside our JSX code. We can pass props by simply writing here props, because we don't want to every time, because it is still hard coded inside the our component, and generally we are getting the data from API, and from API we are actually showing the data off. We are actually displaying the data from the API. So how we can pass the props? We can simply write props here. What we can do, we can give the property a name. Which property I want to show? I want to show my name, so I can write props dot name, and it is not giving me an error because I am defining the name. So whatever name you are giving to the variable, to the prop variable, or the variable inside the prop, because prop here is an object, so keep the name same inside the greet also. Now here I can simply give name, which is a string, Abhi, and simply it will be printed here, as you can see. Now if I change it from name to any other, let's say name, now this will give me an error, it will not print anything. So you need to keep both the variables named the same. Now here is also, I am actually hard coding it. I am not actually creating anything dynamic out of it. So what we can do is we can simply create an object here, let's say, or you can say an array of objects. So let's say const employee emp data, and I am passing object inside it, and this object will have id, let's say 1, and first name and last name. Let me create another object so that we can have multiple objects here. Simply I'm gonna copy this and paste it here and change name. Let's say I'm giving Anurag Shukla, and let me change the ID also. Now how can we give the prop here? Now here in the object we have three variables. We have ID, first name and last name. So what we can do here is we can actually pass the props. So here I can give first name prop dot first name, and in the h2 I can give last name and simply props dot last name. Yes. Now what we can do here is we can simply give the variables name like this. In data at the 0th index dot first name. It is giving me an error, and why is it giving me an error? Let us see that. Here we are passing oh, the colon must not be here. Yes. See how a simple mistake, a very silly mistake, can actually put you in conundrum where does your code is going wrong. Now we can also add. You don't need to add comma to add multiple props because this will give an error. Simply we're gonna give last name equals data. We're gonna go into the 0th element dot last name, and we're gonna close it. Now let us see if the changes reflect on the screen or not. Now it is giving first name and last name Shukla. Now they are not fetching the name. First name Abhishek, last name Shukla. As you can see here, we have successfully passed the props inside it. Now I also have another object inside it, and if I'll copy it like this, it will just be imperative way of writing coding. Now the one good thing that we have is that I have made this emp as the array of objects. Now since it is an array, I can use the map function to map. So what you can do, I can do emp. Now for writing any JavaScript inside the JSX, you need to open the curly braces and then you can pass any JavaScript. Like here you can also see here I am opening and closing the curly braces, and then I am passing the props. So you can pass props, you can pass JavaScript only by opening and closing the curly braces. Now inside here what I'll do, I'll simply go into emp data and I'll map it. Now the map function takes three arguments. First is the current value, and then the index, and then the whole array. Now here I am only be returning the current value, because the current value is actually the object. So what I can do is I can simply return it like this. So where will I return it? So I will return it inside the greet component. So what I can do is I can simply call greet here, and I can simply write the props name. So first name equals current value dot first name, and last name last current value dot last name. Now this is actually how the dynamically we are passing the array. Now here, as you can also see, I am hard coding the array of objects. Now we'll be working with the APIs further in the tutorials, but for now we have actually progressed a lot. First we saw how by declaring the variables we can pass variables inside the JSX. Then we saw how we can pass props from the app.js to greet.js, because app.js we were giving simply the greet function in the first name, and we were giving the value. That value was then passed inside here, and now you can think it from top to bottom or from bottom to up. Now any way that you prefer to visualize the flow of the data. Now you can also see that we are actually defining here, and then the data is actually flowing from greet.js to app.js, and then app.js to index.js, and then index.js to index.html. Or you can see that we are actually giving the values in the app.js, and that those values are fetched from greet.js. Now the visualization is actually important because it helps you to understand the flow of data. Now if we will see on the screen, we will see that I have I have both the objects displayed. Now this is actually very good because using the map function. Why it is very good? Because in the APIs we actually get hundreds and 500s of objects, of array of objects, and then if we will hard code every one of them using the greet function, then it will be very cumbersome. So what we can simply do, we can map them, all of them. So that is that is how we do things in the real world. Now we are done with the basics of the props. We will see more about the props, how we can pass props from many layers. Like here we are passing props from let's say greet to a app.js. Now we can also pass props inside the greet, for which we have to create another component. We will see it in the further videos. Thank you.